Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Grossbullen and welcome to the JesseAF show. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2019, episode 39 of my daily podcast. Yeah, that's right, daily. That means every single day I'll be posting a new episode. So please check in tomorrow for my next episode. I'm on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So if you have any of those platforms, please consider subscribing. Today I'm going to be talking about how cooking comes natural to me. And I've been cooking and baking for my whole life. Like I've said in the past, cooking, here, I'm going to move my notebook. Cooking and baking has always been a part of my life because of my food allergy. I'm allergic to milk and eggs, as you all may know. And that kind of makes it a little bit harder for me to eat. And it's mostly just because milk and eggs are used very commonly in many, many different things. Pizza, whatever. And I've always had to cook. I've always had to bake. And it's always been fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun learning how to cook. And it's a lot of fun learning how to bake. But it requires some skill. And my mom basically taught me how to cook and bake. Growing up, I was always kind of allowed to kind of try anything. So I would mix together different spices and I'd put them in a bowl, and I'd kind of waste the spices, but at the same time, I figured out different smells, different flavors, and I basically worked with those flavors and smells. And I remember making gnocchi or doing mashed potatoes or anything else, and just learning the process, putting in the elbow grease, and it really goes into the whole idea of nothing comes easily if it's good. You have to put the time and effort into something to make it good. And you have to put your heart into something and make it good that way. And that kind of goes back into my whole idea on art and where I come from with my art, because I take my time when I do things. And I really like putting my all into everything. So when I cook and bake, I try to be as well thought out as possible, but at the same time, I don't follow recipes when I cook. Sure, when I bake, I kind of have to because it's a science. And I love baking for that reason, because it's a science. And I get so exact when I do my baking. I go right down to the little detail. And I make sure that all the measurements are correct, or the weight is correct, or whatever it is. And I really make sure of that stuff. And the time period that I have to cook it or bake it or whatever. And I really care. I care about that stuff. I don't like wasting. So when I cook, I cook to my fullest extent, but I don't really think about it much. Cooking comes very natural to me. And, I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Cooking, it runs in my blood. I mean, I'm an Italian. Cooking, the kitchen is my life. And my mom really helped me understand the basics of cooking. That way I can cook. And that way I can make my own food. And it all goes back to the whole idea of seasoning and making sure that the mixture's right, and making sure that you don't overpower the dish with too many seasonings, or they just all blend together. And I don't measure much. I only measure in baking. I basically just throw down the spice. I think it needs more garlic, I don't taste. I basically just look, and I'm like, I know it needs a little bit more. I don't know why, but I just eyeball it. And I know, it's a little weird. Sure, I smell, and I pay attention to the smell of the food, and I get those aromatic flavors on my palate. And when I'm cooking, I really just have fun when I cook. I don't really stress too much about it. I watch my food when I'm cooking it. I stir it around every once in a while. Well, very often, actually, I stir around. That way it doesn't stick. That way it doesn't burn. That way I have a good idea of how much cooking has been done. When it comes to pasta, I'm always stirring just to make sure that's not sticking together. And you really have to put your all into cooking. As simple as it may be, cooking is a craft, and cooking is an art. And you really have to kind of treat it that way. You have to treat it like it has a soul. And when I cook, I treat it like it has a soul. I love chopping up fresh vegetables. I love chopping up fresh garlic, cloves. And I don't really like taking the short period of time to unravel that garlic clove. I like peeling it by hand. I don't really like tossing it or crunching it and then popping off the skin that way. I take my time with my cooking. And I believe that the more time I take with it, the better it comes out. And the more of me goes into it. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And I absolutely love that. I love that ability that I have to create something. And I create good things. And whenever I cook, I always get a lot of compliments. Whether it's, oh, that smells really good, or that really tastes great. And I've always been the person to try weird things that you wouldn't really expect to go together. And I've always enjoyed doing that. And it keeps me, more creative and more active with the kinds of dishes I can create. I've put pickle juice on steak sometimes. I know it's a little strange, but it kind of works, actually. Not to really emphasize too much on the weirdness of what I've done in the kitchen, but I like trying different things. And if I didn't have like a manwich sauce that was in a can, I would go and I would grab ketchup, mustard, some tomato, like crushed tomato. I don't really do a lot of things fresh. Sure, I mean, I would love to, but I do have a constricted amount of time that I cook. I don't really spend my whole day in the kitchen. So I really just focus on trying to get the food made as fast as possible while also making it as good as possible. So I try to take some easy routes. I get a can of crushed tomatoes, that kind of thing. It's simple. But I don't have enough time to go crush those tomatoes. I use olive oil, and I love using olive oil in my dishes. Like in a pasta, I make sure to put a little bit of olive oil into the pasta water while it's boiling. That way it doesn't stick together too much. That way the flavor really soaks in. And I also use olive oil on my pans whenever I fry up something like a chicken sausage or broccoli, if I'm sauteing broccoli. I love doing that. And I use olive oil because it's a very healthy oil, and it's a lot better for you than canola oil or vegetable oil. And and it has a really nice flavor to it. I'm Italian, so I like using extra virgin olive oil a lot. I use it with just pasta in general. I drizzle some over my pasta, that way I can give it some nice buttery, smooth kind of texture. That way it tastes good. And I really enjoy cooking. And really coming up with all these different things that I can do with my cooking. And some of my favorite flavors or ingredients to use would be garlic, of course, because I am Italian, and cayenne pepper. I really like that stuff. It gives a little bit of a kick to it. Not too much, but just enough of a kick so that you can get a little bit of heat. I'm a really simple guy when it comes to heat. I don't really have much heat in my diet. I really am a mild person when it comes to peppers, but I do enjoy spicing it up a little bit every once in a while. And I do it in a way where it really makes sense and it really does impact the dish well. And I love using sun-dried tomatoes because those really bring a different flavor to the palate, and I really enjoy how it looks. I add different colors to my dishes. That way it's not bland with color either. Like, I'll have tomatoes, and then I'll have like the sun-dried tomatoes, and those are a little bit dark, so I'll pair it with some basil and some spinach, and I'll mix that all together. I'll saute the spinach. I'll also put broccoli in there, nice chopped fine broccoli, and I really enjoy making it interesting to look at while I am also making it very tasty and rewarding. I have recently started working with portioning it out properly, and that's a lot of fun, but it can be a little light sometimes, so I have to add more to the dish. But I really love cooking, and cooking comes really natural to me. I absolutely love it, and I love talking about it. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did enjoy talking about this, and I hope you subscribe. I hope you comment. I hope you like. And I hope you share, because I really do enjoy putting out this content every single day. I'm going to be getting my mic probably tomorrow, so I might be able to do it for episode 40, maybe episode 41, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day.